One of my fortes is erotic literature. This sanitized extract is from chapter 1 of my novel Love on a Branch Line, a bodice-ripping tale of desire and betrayal set around a preserved steam railway in the south of England. The car drove off on its night errand of mercy. Within 5 minutes the landing light framed Gwyneth Williams in the bedroom doorway. James downed his book, Colin G. Magg's Branch Lines of Leicestershire. "I've been expecting you," he said. "Sorry, James, I got lost," caught out Gwen, simpered in her long white nightgown, just beyond his threshold. "Now we both know that's a fib," he replied with mock severity. Gwen blushed. "Don't you wear pyjamas?" She eyed his apparently bare torso. "Not tonight," he smiled indulgently. "I heard the telephone in Cassie go out." "She won't be back for a while," he suavely let slip. "Her sister Alice has taken ill. Her husband's away in Germany on business." "You sound ever so English sometimes, James." "That's because I am. You sound ever so Welsh." "Well, I am too." "Have you decided?" "Decided what, James?" "Whether you're coming into my room or going back to yours." "James!" she flirted, just like she'd done ever since her family moved into the house next door a year before. "What happens if I do come in?" "I don't know," he flirted back, more forcefully, for tonight the rules had subtly changed. "But I'm sure it will be good." "It sounds very tempting," Gwen smirked. She was nearly 18. Anxious not to fall behind her peers, she was ready to exploit the attraction men felt for her. For James, too, the time had come to cross the line. "Of course, if you did come in, it would have to remain our secret." "From Cassie?" "From Cassie." "From Ma and Pa?" "Especially from them. I'm supposed to be looking after you." "And if I go back to bed?" "You can try to sleep, but I know I won't." At last, a formal admission of attraction. "You might follow me," she teased. "No, stay or go. It's entirely your decision. This has to be your choice." "Can I have some time to think about it?" "As long as you like." He picked up his book and pretended to read about Oakham Station, knowing she was watching him, pondering, considering her next move. "James, can I ask a question?" "Far away," he smiled back. "Are you often unfaithful to Cassandra?" "When occasion arises," he carried on reading. "But don't tell her, because I shall completely deny it." "Does she know you play around?" "I'm sure she suspects, but she doesn't know." Gwen thought about the difference carefully. "Will she suspect I've come to your room tonight?" "Possibly, but I'll make sure there's no proof." So far so good, but the girl required more words of wisdom. "Why were you expecting me?" "I've seen the way you look at me when you think no one's watching. Your parents warned us you're an adventurous spirit." "I'm an accountant," he grinned. 2 and 2 make 4. "Do you think I'm an innocent?" "Yes." "What makes you say that?" She blushed accusingly. "Because you asked the question. If you weren't, it wouldn't be an issue." "You're very clever." She reclined against the doorframe. "And you are very, very pretty. So, are you staying?" He put his book down and sat up, displaying more of his body as subtle encouragement. Gwen felt all weak at the knees. He was just so... She couldn't think of a word that wasn't obscene. Yes, she could. He was a man, not a boy. Rugged, sophisticated, handsome. Neat dark hair and perfectly proportioned. She wanted him for all the same reasons a cat wants a mouse. Not because she's hungry, but because it's in her nature. This had to be it. Everything pointed to it. He was the one, the debut treat she promised herself. Impulsively, she skipped forward. "I'll stay, thank you." "Excellent choice." He smiled benignly. "You're most welcome. Love is a beautiful thing." "I didn't say I'd make love with you," she teased. "You don't have to. Your choice, of course." "Shall we just see how we go?" "Certainly. I'd like everything to be perfect for you. If there's anything at all you don't like, just say." "I'd never seen a man full on before," she admitted. "Only in pictures." She was interested to see what he'd do. Had she been even a little more worldly, she'd have known. "Easily remedied, my dear." James pulled back the bedclothes and reclined on his side. one leg arched, clearly interested in guiding her towards a beautiful thing. Gwyneth's eyes inquisitively feasted, which he enjoyed. "You're very hairy, James." "Not especially. Now, why don't you get into bed with me?" Nerve failing, she took a step forward. None of her fantasies half as exciting as this, not even the one with Robbie Williams on the beach in Jamaica. Silently, James reached for her nearest hand. "Oh, Gwen, you're shaking." "I'm not scared, you know, just excited." It was almost true. Slowly he stood up. She didn't retreat, so he seized the initiative. Starting at the top, he began to unbutton her nightdress. "Feel free to take charge any time you wish," he encouraged. "This is your big night. I want everything to be absolutely perfect for you." "What about you?" "Gwen, you are perfect." James felt pleased with his patter. It was a pity he didn't meet more impressionable girls. No loss, it worked just as well on impressionable women at those Royal Accounting Society residential conference he had to attend because he was area secretary, or when he prowled the Bournemouth clubs with friend Rob looking for a good time. He reached the fourth and final button. "Please, may I?" "What?" she stammered. "May I caress you?" "Don't I get a kiss first?" "You'll have to move closer for me to do that," he coaxed. "Oh?" She thought she'd been foolish, made some kind of juvenile faux pas. "Touch me then," she saved face. James parted the opening as far as the functional design would permit. He brushed her white neck before slipping in his hand to fondle first her left, then her right. He worked slowly, thoroughly, sensually, for he wanted her calm, relaxed, enthusiastic. Gwen felt her body come alive at his light touch. This wasn't the quick grope around the back of the pub she was used to from boys of her age. Boys, keep them. She wanted a man. She wanted James, the promised one, his male scent now almost overpowering. Lingering fingers over her tips, James brought up his other hand to hold her chin before gently kissing her waiting lips. Certain she wanted more, he backed off. "Gwen, you are an exceptionally beautiful young woman," he complimented. She placed her hands on his shoulders. "My first man," she smugly gloated, and they kissed again, longer, slower, academically, both wanting the other and neither in any hurry. The fact that he already belonged to someone else simply made him all the more desirable for Gwen. She couldn't wish for a better guide, a better instructor. James was in his 30s, a bit of a rogue and drop-dead gorgeous. She hadn't believed her luck when Ma and Pa had asked the stewards to put her up while they were away in Cardiff arranging Great-Aunt Bronwyn's funeral. Scared of leaving her on her own, in case she had a wild party, they felt as a professional couple, accountant and art historian, the stewards were above suspicion. How wrong. The harmless flirting of the last 12 months had in 48 hours escalated to the ultimate intimacy. "Now, Gwen, why don't you remove that nightie and get into bed?" Gently he lifted her hands off him. "I'd be happy to help." "Yes," she agreed, desperately wanting his touch back. Pleased to be in the driving seat, James stooped to gently gather the hem of her nightgown. Cliché it may be, but he was really looking forward to the girl next door. As her gown left her like a discarded skin, Gwen couldn't help but notice how broad his back seemed, how full of animal power. She raised her arms above her head in a suitable pose of surrender as he lifted the gown over and off, tousling her long dark hair. She shook it free and smiled her recently straightened teeth. "Ooh, I feel all sexy now, James." "What shall we do with this?" He held up the nightdress like a trophy. "Put it by the door, I think." Carelessly he tossed it through the open portal before turning his eyes over her body. "You know, Gwen, you're wonderfully proportioned, a classically shaped figure." She was a bit skinny, but it sounded good. "You are perfection personified." "Thank you." She didn't know what it meant, but it made her feel valued. "May I kiss you again?" "Yes, please, I'd like that." James had never used such self-control. Unlike his flings with tarty clerical officers and middle-aged housewives, he considered young Gwen an investment for the future. He took her in his arms and bent back to kiss. She melted like butter, though her inexperience showed, forcing her tongue into his mouth in the fashion of the great British snog, pushing her body against him in excited "come on." With no way of holding off, he counterattacked, his hand sinking from her waist to her bum with a circular motion before breaking to kiss down her neck. Dominance was quickly re-established. "Lovely," he said, "but a little intense." "Sorry?" she pouted. "Will you kiss me again? You did say—" "Yes, I did, and it will be my pleasure. Tonight I am yours to command." James realized he'd slipped into a P.G. Wodehouse persona. No matter. Their lips met in another expression of mutual lust, her excited mouths brushing his chest as they held hands, each mirroring the other's posture. Momentarily intoxicated, James broke free of her grip, grabbed her to him and slobbered over her neck. Gwen giggled, reveling in her now proven ability to seduce him any time she pleased, her power to tempt him from that miserable frump Cassandra. Married? So what? This was just so right. She imagined Cassandra dying in a car crash, and her becoming the new Mrs. Stewart. They could do this every night, and she could give up college and never have to work again. He was so loaded. Loaded indeed. Every cell in James' body now screamed at him, take her. Yet he also wanted to save her, a willing Virgo, feral, in the raw. He might never get another chance. He looked into her dark brown eyes. "Patience, my darling, not long now." He rotated her through 180 degrees to take in the rear view, with increasing anticipation. "You are truly the loveliest creature in Ferndown." "Will you think so?" She smiled, satisfaction. "I stated for the record." He rotated her back and leered with satisfaction. God, what was that proverb? It is as good to journey hopefully as it is to arrive. But two can play at that game. "That was very forceful." She placed her hands on his rear. It felt firm, no flab. "You feel very nice, James. You'll do me nicely." "I'm glad we're in agreement." He pursued an urgent agenda of his own. Leaning over, James pulled the duvet back to create a flat playing surface, allowing Gwyneth to daintily step onto his bed, symbolically leaving her innocence on his bedroom floor.